windmill of the comic book community was a very strong and powerful thing. Rob was on the phone all the time with Todd, and Rob was on the phone with Eric. Something big was going to happen, but he couldn't talk about it and didn't really know what shape it was going to take.
We talked about launching a label, and I said, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to do this now.
We're going to get together. Eric, Rob, Todd, and we're going to have our books. Now, Rob says, hey, I got a buddy, Jim Valentino. Is it okay if he comes along for the ride? Sure, what the heck? We got 4. The more the merrier to me. We're now a boy band.
Todd took over, and I asked him, I said, are you really going to do this? And he said, yeah. And I said, okay, then I'm in.
Most of us were still working at Marvel Comics, so we didn't talk in the open about this.
Definitely there were secretive conversations. That was definitely like, how many guys can we draw into this, and how big can we make this?
Now, at this point, we've involved Jim Lee, but he won't commit.
I'd been at Marvel for about 5 years. I got to work on the characters I loved as a kid. I did very well by them.
Jim was adored by Marvel.
We were the bad boys. Mwah. He was the golden boy. Nice kid, best art, best-selling book for Marvel.
They expected us to do something stupid, but not Jim. You know, nobody expected Jim to do it.
Todd McFarlane had suggested we bring Mark Silvestri on board. And I'm going to tell you, Mark is the premier illustrator of our generation. So Todd and I are in New York City, and in the hotel lobby where we were staying, Mark Silvestri's right there.
Do you have a half an hour? He goes, yeah. It's about 11:30 at night. And I give him the best sales pitch I've ever given.
The way that Todd sells things, and he's a great salesman, is that he just don't want to be left behind. These Marvel and DC guys, you know, look what they did to Jack Kirby. You know, it's like they get nothing. You know, we get nothing. We get nothing. This time we got something. Yeah, it was genius. I was like, I'm on board.
Rob Liefeld, myself, and Todd, we were all in New York City because we had some artwork of ours that was being auctioned off at Sotheby's.
And I run into Jim Lee. And Jim goes, Todd! He goes, what are you doing? I sort of told him what we were doing. And he goes, wow, let me think about that.
I appear to be a fairly nondescript person, but in my heart, I really like doing things that other people wouldn't try to do.
A few hours later, he phones me up and he goes, Todd, you mind if I join? And I go, what? We got the golden boy. Yeah, you can come.
Once Jim made that move, the train was off and running.
Hey, what's up?
Jim wanted Wills to join. So everybody just went, yeah, sure.
I get a call from Jim Lee, and he says, hey, look, there's something happening, and we'd like you to be part of it, but I can't tell you about it, but, you know, if you can, think about it.
4, 5, 6, 7. We just grabbed 3 X-Men. That was the best-selling books at that point. Wow.
Basically, all of the Spider-Man office and all of the X-Men office is now combining into one new publishing label. That was exciting. That was very exciting. Todd had decided that he wanted to formally inform Marvel that we were leaving, which I didn't understand. But if he was going to do it, I'm going too. I'm going to be part of that ride. So Jim and I went along. Marvel was closed for the day. I just remember walking through the dark bullpen, and there was Terry's dark room.
That might have been the first time I ever went to his office, maybe a second.
It was supposed to just be us and Terry. By coincidence, the editor-in-chief happened to be going to get a coffee. Oh, what are you guys doing here?
I did stumble in that I wasn't intentionally going to a meeting. I just showed up, knocked on the door, and was invited in.
They weren't happy. They really wanted control and a very large percentage of the profits. And basically, I said, that's not going to happen.
I'm sure we all have our warped sense of what happened in that meeting. My memory goes like something like this. We are here to say we are leaving Marvel comic books. We're just telling you why we're leaving. And if you don't do something, you may have another 7 tomorrow.
Terry's trying to come up with solutions to what he perceived as our discontent. And Todd was having none of it.
Todd told them about how his dad, when he worked at the factory, they gave him a watch.
They gave my father a watch.
for his work. Like, we don't even get a watch, not even a watch from Marvel Comics. And I was like, a watch? What the hell? I think it was the first time Jim Lee had heard about the watch story.
I don't think I said much other than, that's interesting.
Was I surprised? Yeah, I was a little shocked. I had shareholders that would ask me, what are you going to do now that you lost your top 3 artists?
We left the meeting, just like a movie, as the elevator doors are closing. Dom DeFalco's on the outside, and his last words to us were, hey, if it doesn't work out, you've always got a home. And I remember, I looked at Jim, and I just went, wow, they think we can't do this.
Marvel Entertainment fell 3 1/4 today. 8 artists are jumping ship for a competitor. Some investors did the same.
The industry trades were writing Image's obituary from the moment they got the press release announcing its birth.
Marvel and DC at the time essentially had a monopoly. They controlled distribution, they controlled printing, they controlled the retailers to a certain extent. So the idea that another company could be formed that could actually compete with them was absolutely unheard of at the time.
We represented a generational shift. What united us for several years was the industry rising up against us.
You know, I'll confess, I didn't think Image Comics was going to last.
We actually had professionals dissing us publicly. These guys, a bunch of losers, a bunch of idiots, a bunch of so unappreciative.
None of us knew how this was going to work or if it was going to work. I had put every dime I had into a down payment on a house. There's no precedents to speak of. There was nothing that we could turn to and say, well, these guys made it huge. It had been quite the opposite.
What I told my wife at the time was I either made the worst mistake I've ever made in my entire life, or I made the best call I've ever made in my entire life, and we're just going to have to wait to see which one it was.